The Kaldarian ships appeared without warning. One day the skies were blue, the next they were filled with massive alien vessels that blocked the sun. Hana Park stood at the command center of Earth's defense grid as the first blasts hit the orbital platforms. Red lights flashed across every screen. "Status report," she shouted over the alarms. "Defense grid failing at 70% of nodes," her second-in-command Jin said, voice steady despite the chaos. "They're targeting our communication hubs first." The room shook as something exploded nearby. Through the reinforced windows, Hana watched as beams of purple light cut through Earth's atmosphere, striking major military installations with perfect accuracy. "They knew exactly where to hit us," she whispered. 3 days later, Hana crouched in the ruins of what had once been Seoul. The great city lay in ruins, its towers toppled by precise strikes. She pulled a tattered military jacket tighter around her shoulders as alien craft hummed overhead, their searchlights sweeping the debris. "Commander, Park," a voice called softly from the shadows. A thin man emerged, his face streaked with ash. She recognized Tae Kim, one of Earth's leading scientists. "We've established a temporary base in the old subway tunnels. Some of us survived." The underground station had been converted into a makeshift command center. Maps were pinned to walls, and salvaged computers hummed quietly. About 30 people huddled there, soldiers, scientists, and civilians. "What's our situation?" Hana asked, accepting a cup of water from a young woman. "Bad," Tae replied. "The Kaldarians have taken every major city. Their technology is unlike anything we've seen. They can detect electronic signals from kilometers away, which is why we're using paper maps and runners for messages." "Any word from other countries?" Hana asked. An older man named Sung looked up from a hand-cranked radio. "Scattered reports, same story everywhere. They took out our defense grid, then our power plants, then our governments. It was over in hours." Hana studied the people around her. Their faces showed fear but also determination. "Why haven't they just wiped us out completely?" she wondered aloud. "They seem to want the planet, not necessarily to kill all humans," Tae explained. "We've observed them setting up what look like atmosphere processors. Our best guess is they're changing Earth to suit their biology." That night, Hana couldn't sleep. She slipped out of the subway tunnel and climbed to a hidden spot where she could see the night sky. The Kaldarian ships hung like new, deadly stars. Below them, strange structures were rising where the presidential palace had once stood. Soft footstep alerted her. She turned to see a teenage boy, maybe 16, watching her carefully. "You're the commander they talk about," he said. "I was," Hana corrected. "Not much left to command?" The boy shook his head. "My father was a history teacher. He said that, throughout human history, invaders always make the same mistake. They destroy our buildings, our technology, our armies, but they can't destroy our knowledge, our will, or our ability to adapt." Hana studied him. "What's your name?" "Min," he answered. "What did you do before they came, Min?" "I was good with computers, gaming mostly." Hana nodded slowly, an idea forming. "Do you think you could hack into alien systems if we got you close enough?" Min's eyes widened. "I don't know their language or code." "But you know patterns," Hana said. "And that's what code is, regardless of who created it." The next morning, Hana called together the survivors. "The Kaldarians think they've won because they destroyed our defense grid," she said. "But they don't understand what they're facing. Humans have survived ice ages, plagues, and our own destructive tendencies. We're not just going to roll over and die." She pointed to their scavenged equipment and hand-drawn maps. "We start small. Observe their patterns, learn their weaknesses. We become the shadows they can't see, the whispers they can't hear. We find others like us. We build a network." Tae stepped forward. "I've been analyzing samples of their equipment. They have vulnerabilities we can exploit." For the first time, since the invasion, Hana felt something like hope. The Kaldarians had destroyed Earth's defensive systems, but they had missed the most important defense of all, the human spirit that refused to surrender. "Today," she told the group, "we start fighting back." 6 months had passed since the Kaldarians took over Earth. Hana Park crouched near the entrance of an abandoned shopping mall, watching an alien patrol march down the empty street. Their tall, rigid bodies moved with machine-like precision, scanning buildings with devices that glowed blue in the evening light. When they passed, Hana slipped away through a hidden passage. The concrete walls gave way to a narrow tunnel that led deep underground. After walking for 15 minutes, she reached a heavy metal door. She knocked 3 times, paused, then knocked twice more. The door opened to reveal a vast underground space that had once been a storage facility. Now it buzzed with quiet activity as dozens of people worked at different stations. Some repaired scavenged technology, others sorted through supplies. In the center, a large table held paper maps, covered with markings. "You're back," said Tae Kim, looking up from a microscope. Dark circles under his eyes showed he hadn't slept much. Hana placed a small bag on his table. Samples from their water filtration system as requested. Tae's tired face lit up. He immediately opened the bag and prepared slides with the material inside. After several minutes of careful examination, he called Hana over. "Look at this," he said, stepping aside so she could peer through the microscope. "See how the Caldarian filter material reacts to this common Earth fungus? It's breaking down." "What does that mean for us?" Hana asked. "It means they aren't prepared for Earth's biology," Tae explained. "Their environmental systems filter for threats they know about, not the millions of microorganisms unique to our world." Across the room, Min was working with 3 other teenagers. They had built a simple radio system that could capture Caldarian communications without being detected. "Commander Park," Min called out. "We picked up something interesting. The aliens are having problems with their breathing systems in the northern sectors." Hana joined their circle, examining the crude but effective equipment they had assembled, from parts salvaged from toys, old radios, and kitchen appliances. "Play it again," she requested. Min adjusted some dials, and strange clicking sounds filled the air. "We can't understand their language yet," he admitted, "but we've been tracking their patrol patterns based on signal strength and timing. There's definitely something wrong in this area." He pointed to a map where they had marked Caldarian movements. Later that evening, Hana met with the leaders of the resistance cell. There was Sung, a former construction worker who now organized supply runs, Mina, who had been a doctor and now trained others in basic medical care, and June, who had worked in communications before the invasion. "Our network is growing," June reported. "We're now in contact with 17 other resistance cells across the country. The fishing village to the south has figured out how to jam Caldarian sensors using modified boat equipment. The farm collective in the east is growing food in underground chambers," Sung added. "They're using hidden solar collectors to power grow lights." Mina spread out a hand-drawn map. "Our messenger reached the mountain cell yesterday. They've been watching the aliens' reaction to different Earth environments. The Caldarians seem uncomfortable in high humidity and have trouble navigating dense forests." Hana nodded, taking in all the information. "And what about Ty's fungal discovery?" "That might be our best weapon," Mina said. "If we can cultivate enough of it and find a way to introduce it into their systems." A sudden commotion at the entrance interrupted their meeting. A young woman rushed in, breathing hard. "Caldarian patrol," she gasped. "They're using a new scanning device. It almost detected our hidden entrance." The room fell silent as everyone processed this news. The aliens were adapting, just as the humans were. It was a race against time. "We need to move our main base," Hana decided. "And we need to act on Ty's discovery before the Caldarians develop better defenses against Earth's biology." Later that night, as most of the resistance slept, Hana sat with Ty, studying his notes on the fungal samples. "Do you think this could really work?" she asked quietly. Tay nodded. "Nature is the greatest weapon we have. The Caldarians came prepared to fight human technology, human weapons. They weren't prepared to fight Earth itself." "Then we need to coordinate with all resistance cells," Hana said. "If we're going to use this against them, we need to strike simultaneously across all their installations." She looked at the sleeping forms of her people, ordinary humans who had become extraordinary in the face of alien invasion. The Caldarians had superior technology and weapons, but humans had something the aliens couldn't match: The ability to adapt, to use whatever was at hand, to find strength in connection and cooperation rather than force. We'll call it Operation Firefly, Hana decided. Small lights in the darkness coming together to create something powerful. Tay smiled for the first time in weeks. The Keldarians won't know what hit them. The old school building had once been filled with children's laughter. Now it served as the meeting place for resistance leaders from across the region. 20 men and women sat in small chairs meant for students, their faces serious in the dim light of solar-powered lamps. Hana Park stood at the front, next to a blackboard covered with hand-drawn maps and diagrams. Operation Firefly begins in 3 days, she announced. All cells are in position. How can we be sure the fungal weapon will work? Asked an older man who led the mountain cell. Tae Kim stepped forward, holding a small glass container filled with pale green spores. We've tested it on materials taken from Keldarian equipment. The fungus breaks down their filtration systems and causes severe respiratory distress. He placed the container on the desk. Each cell will receive samples tonight with instructions for growing more. And the timing? Asked Mina, who now commanded the coastal resistance. Simultaneous attacks across all Keldarian installations, Hana explained. Their main bases, patrol routes, and atmosphere processors. We strike at midnight, when their guard shifts change. The next 3 days passed intense preparation. Underground labs grew fungal cultures. Messengers traveled between cells, carrying the precious samples and final instructions. Scouts mapped guard rotations and air vent locations at each target. On the night of the operation, Hana led a small team toward the main Keldarian command center. It had once been the National Science Museum, now transformed into an alien stronghold. The 6 humans moved silently through the shadows, avoiding the sweeping lights of patrol drones. Security is tighter than our last recon, whispered Min, who had insisted on joining the mission. Now 18, he had grown taller and leaner during the months of resistance. They're getting smarter, Hana agreed. But so are we. They reached the museum's maintenance entrance, hidden behind overgrown bushes. June, who had memorized the building's layout, led them through narrow service tunnels that the Keldarians with their tall bodies never used. According to our intel, the main ventilation control should be through here, June said, pointing to a small utility room. Inside, they found what looked like the original human ventilation system, now connected to strange Keldarian technology. Tae carefully removed the fungal samples from his protected case and prepared the delivery system they had designed, simple aerosol devices made from repurposed household items. Remember, he cautioned, once we release the spores, we have 15 minutes to clear the area before they begin to spread through their systems. Hana checked her watch, an old mechanical timepiece that couldn't be tracked by alien technology. It's 11:55. All cells should be in position. As the minute hand reached 12, Tae activated the devices. A fine mist of spores released into the air intake system, invisible to the naked eye. The team quickly packed up and retreated the way they had come. They were halfway to the exit when alarms began to sound. Strange warbling noises echoed through the building, followed by announcements in the clicking Keldarian language. They've detected something, Min said, his voice tense. Keep moving, Hana ordered. Stick to the plan. They had almost reached the maintenance entrance when 2 Keldarian guards appeared in the corridor ahead. The aliens were tall, with smooth gray skin and 4-fingered hands that reached for their weapons. This way, June pulled them into a side passage just as energy pulses hit the wall where they had been standing. The team separated, using predetermined escape routes. Hana and Min headed for the roof, planning to climb down the building's exterior using equipment they had hidden earlier. As they emerged onto the roof, they saw the night sky filled with activity. Keldarian ships moved in strange patterns above the city, emergency lights flashing. In the distance, similar lights flashed above other alien installations. It's working, Min breathed. All the cells attacked at once. They quickly attached their climbing gear and began the descent. From this height, Hana could see Keldarians emerging from buildings, some stumbling, others helping comrades who seemed to be in distress. 3 days later, Hana met with June and Dr. Lee, who had been monitoring alien communications. They gathered in a new safe house, an old library with hidden basement rooms. The fungal attack has disrupted their operations significantly, June reported. Their patrols are reduced by nearly 60%. Dr. Lee, who had been working tirelessly to decode Caldarian transmissions, looked up from his notes. More importantly, I've managed to translate parts of their emergency signals. They're calling for reinforcements and new filtration technology. He paused, a small smile crossing his tired face. And they're referring to us as unpredictable primitives with inexplicable tactical innovations. For the first time since the invasion, Hana felt genuine hope spread through the room. The aliens had expected humanity to fight with guns and conventional tactics. Instead, they had been attacked by fungal spores deployed by shadows. Phase 1 complete, Hana said. Now we prepare for their response. The Caldarian response to Operation Firefly was swift and brutal. They burned entire neighborhoods suspected of harboring resistance fighters. Their ships flew low over forests, releasing chemicals that killed vegetation where humans might hide. They rounded up citizens for questioning, taking many who never returned. Despite this, the resistance grew stronger. Each act of alien cruelty pushed more people to join Hana's network. They're making a critical mistake, Hana told her advisors as they gathered in an abandoned subway maintenance tunnel. They think fear will break us. Instead, it's uniting us. Sung, his face thinner than before, spread out new maps showing Caldarian patrol routes. Their patterns have changed. They're avoiding areas where the fungal attacks were most successful. Tay nodded. And they've upgraded their environmental suits. The fungus won't work as well anymore. This wasn't unexpected. The resistance had always known the aliens would adapt. What mattered was that Operation Firefly had proven the Caldarians were vulnerable. We need something new, Hana said. Something they won't expect. A quiet voice spoke from the corner. I might have something. Everyone turned to look at the speaker, a middle-aged man named Day who had once taught chemistry at a local high school. Day stepped forward, placing a small vial of clear liquid on the table. I've been examining pieces of their equipment. Their metal alloys have an unusual molecular structure that reacts with certain earth compounds. He gestured to the vial. This solution corrodes their metal on contact. It doesn't harm earth materials, only theirs. Hana picked up the vial carefully. How quickly does it work? Minutes for small items, perhaps an hour for larger structures. This discovery spread through the resistance network. Soon, fishing villages were coating their nets with Day's solution and dragging them through waters where Caldarian patrol boats operated. Farmers sprayed, diluted versions on fields where alien scouts walked. Each small action caused equipment failures that confused and frustrated the invaders. Meanwhile, Mina Kang had been training a special team. Before the invasion, she had been a champion rock climber. Now she taught those skills to a select group. The Caldarians always look for threats at their level or below, she explained to Hana. They rarely look up. Mina's team practiced climbing buildings without equipment, moving across rooftops, and dropping from heights that would intimidate most humans. They became known as ghosts for their ability to appear and disappear without trace. One night, Hana received urgent news. A resistance spy had discovered that a Caldarian command ship had landed for repairs just outside the city. If they could infiltrate it, they might gain valuable intelligence. It's heavily guarded, the spy reported. But there's a maintenance tunnel that runs beneath it. The opening is small, too small for a Caldarian. Hana immediately thought of Mina's team. How small? A child could fit through easily. A small adult would struggle. Mina volunteered immediately. My team can do this. We've been practicing for months. The plan came together quickly. While resistance fighters created a distraction, on the far side of the landing site, Mina and 3 others would enter through the maintenance tunnel. On the night of the mission, Hana monitored communications from a hidden position. She watched through binoculars as explosions lit up the eastern perimeter of the landing site, drawing Caldarian guards away from their posts. Minutes ticked by with no word from Mina's team. Had they been captured? Killed? The distraction couldn't be maintained much longer. Then her radio crackled. "We're in," came Mina's whispered voice. Moving toward their central computer now. Min and his tech team had created a special device, a virus delivery system that would upload false information into the Keldarian network. If successful, it would feed them incorrect data about Earth resistance strength and locations. Another 20 minutes passed. The diversionary explosions had stopped, and Keldarian patrols were returning to their normal positions. "Come on, Mina," Hana whispered to herself. "Get out of there." Her radio crackled again. "Upload complete. Exiting now." When Mina's team returned safely 2 hours later, they were exhausted but triumphant. "Their security systems are designed to detect weapons and explosions," Mina reported, "not humans climbing through maintenance shafts." Days later, they began to see results. Keldarian patrols appeared in areas where no resistance fighters operated. Their ships wasted resources bombing empty caves and abandoned buildings. Their communications, which Dr. Lee continued to decode, showed growing confusion and frustration. "They're sending reports back to their homeworld," Dr. Lee told Hana one evening. "They're requesting more resources to deal with what they're calling an unexpectedly resilient infestation." Hana smiled at this description. "They still don't understand who they're fighting. They see our lack of advanced technology as weakness. They don't recognize that our strength comes from our diversity and adaptability." For the first time, Hana allowed herself to believe that humanity might actually win this war. Not through superior firepower or technology, but through countless small acts of resistance, each exploiting the rigid thinking of their invaders. "We are not what they expected," she told her advisors, "and that will be their downfall." 3 years had passed since the day the Keldarian ships darkened Earth's skies. 3 years of fighting from the shadows, of small victories and painful losses. Now something unexpected was happening. The Keldarians were leaving. Hana Park stood on a hill overlooking what had once been the aliens' main processing center. Through binoculars, she watched as they dismantled equipment and loaded it onto their ships. Their movements seemed hurried, almost frantic. "They really are going," said Tae Kim, who stood beside her. His hair had turned completely gray during the years of resistance, but his eyes remained sharp and observant. "Not just here," added Jun Lee, who now coordinated communications between all resistance cells. "Reports are coming in from across the world. The same pattern everywhere. They're packing up and leaving." Hana lowered her binoculars. "Why now? What changed?" The answer had been building for months. The Keldarians, for all their advanced technology, had never faced an enemy like humanity. Their military doctrine relied on overwhelming force and technological superiority. When those failed, they had no backup plan. The resistance network had grown into something the aliens couldn't comprehend. A fighting force with no central command to target, no standard tactics to counter, and no predictable patterns to analyze. Children acted as lookouts. Grandmothers hid resistance fighters. Farmers turned harvesting tools into weapons. Each time the Keldarians adapted to one threat, humans created 3 more. Day's corrosive solution evolved into dozens of formulations. Min's virus multiplied into countless versions, each targeting different alien systems. Mina's climbing teams inspired similar groups worldwide who attacked from unexpected angles. "Their supply lines are stretched too thin," June explained. "Our attacks on their ships and communication relays have isolated their forces here from their home world." Tay nodded. "And they're still losing personnel to our biological weapons. We've identified 27 Earth microorganisms that their immune systems can't handle." 2 weeks later, Hana stood in the main command center of the Resistance. Maps covered the walls, marked with the locations of retreating Keldarian forces. People moved with purpose, coordinating efforts to monitor the alien withdrawal and planning recovery operations for afterward. "The last major ship will leave tomorrow," June reported. "They've abandoned 80% of their equipment. Either it's too damaged to transport or they're in too much of a hurry." "What about their prisoners?" Hana asked. "Released near the evacuation zones," Mina said. She had just returned from a reconnaissance mission. They're disoriented, but mostly unharmed. That night, Hana couldn't sleep. She walked through the underground base, now much larger and better equipped than in the early days of the Resistance. People nodded respectfully as she passed. Some were original members who had been with her from the beginning. Others had joined later, bringing new skills and perspectives. At dawn, Hana returned to the hilltop with Tay. They watched as the last massive Keldarian vessel powered up its engines. The ground rumbled as the ship slowly rose into the air, joining others already in orbit. Within an hour, the entire alien fleet accelerated away from Earth, becoming tiny points of light before disappearing entirely. "Do you think they'll come back?" Tay asked quietly. Hana considered this. "Perhaps, but not soon. And when they do, they'll find us better prepared." In the months that followed, humanity began the long process of rebuilding. The Resistance Network transformed into a recovery organization, using their skills for construction rather than sabotage. Teams of engineers and scientists studied the abandoned Keldarian technology. Some of it was damaged beyond repair by Day's solutions or other resistance weapons, but much remained intact, offering insights into advanced propulsion, energy generation, and materials science. 6 months after the Keldarian departure, Hana stood in a newly rebuilt communication center. Screens showed recovery efforts from around the world. The most surprising discovery had been how quickly Earth began to heal once the alien terraforming equipment shut down. Forests regrew, waters cleared, wildlife returned to areas that had been poisoned. "We've finished the analysis of their navigation data," Min announced, now a confident young man leading a team of programmers. "We can track which star system they came from. And we're making progress understanding their weapon systems," added Sung. "Within a year, we should be able to adapt them to our own defense platforms." Hana looked around at the faces of her team, people who had been ordinary citizens before the invasion, who had discovered extraordinary courage and resourcefulness within themselves. "The Keldarians taught us something important," she said. "They showed us that humanity's greatest strength isn't our technology or our weapons. It's our adaptability, our diversity, our refusal to surrender even when victory seems impossible." She walked to the window and looked up at the sky. It was clear blue now, with no alien ships blocking the sun. Earth belonged to humanity again, and if the Keldarians or any other hostile species returned, they would find not a primitive world ripe for conquest, but a united planet ready to defend itself. "They thought destroying our defense grid meant destroying our defenses," Hana said, softly. "They never understood that humanity itself is the defense grid."